Happy holidays, Radiovania listeners. It's your nerdy public radio for all things entertainment and pop culture. This is episode number 33 of Radiovania. Coming to you in between Christmas and New Year's. And we're going to do a little bit of a miniature holiday special. We're going to talk a little bit about Rogue One.
But not the Star Wars holiday special.
Not the Star Wars holiday special.
Diving into that.
There's not going to be any Ewoks or any sort of...
There's not going to be Chewie's family or anything like that.
If you listen real closely, you'll hear the sound of us taking down the Christmas lights and putting up the party poppers for New Year's Eve. I'm your host, Sacratello, along with my other co-host, John Swansong Parker.
How's it going, guys? Hope you had a good holiday.
Yeah, I definitely did. You as well?
I had a great one.
Yeah, that's good. We'll talk a little bit about Matt in a second. And then sitting to his left, to my right, the long-awaited return of Austin James.
What's going on, guys? Glad to be back.
You heard him on After Dark. You loved him.
Isn't it crazy that they took Austin James's pitch for a movie with J-Law, but they recasted him with Chris Pratt instead?
And they turned it to Passengers.
Isn't that a bummer? I mean, they didn't even consult him or anything.
Don't even get me started.
We're not going to see
J-Law.
a dime of that money. As soon as that short run movie comes out, and I'm not in it though, I'm going to sue.
As soon as the what movie?
The short run movie. Short round, sorry.
Short round?
Remember I pitched a movie with Shorty.
Okay, I was thinking I was like, is there a movie coming out called Short Run that I have no idea about? But
yeah.
All right, well, we saw Rogue One. We saw a bunch of... What have you guys been doing over the holidays? What movies did you watch? TV shows you see? Did you go to play any games? Do anything like that?
I saw Passenger, obviously. I couldn't miss that.
Okay, so give me your rundown. Scoot a little bit closer to the mic.
Non-spoiler review.
Well, do you care about spoilers for this movie?
I won't give a spoiler.
I
care?
I might actually go see it.
I won't give any spoilers. I was expecting an epic story, and it was a very centralized, small story. So you're only getting a very centralized story, which is fine. But it was definitely a different plot than I expected, for sure. From the commercials, I definitely thought it was going to be an epic story, but it wasn't. So I'm not going to say that I was disappointed, but I was definitely taken back by the plot.
Yeah. How are the leads? Because there's really only a few different actors in the movie, right?
Yeah.
It's just a handful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, Chris Pratt and J-Law's, they're A1 actors and
A-list actors is the
steak sauce.
No, A1.
Last night I was telling you
on your steak.
I'm so unmotivated to go see this movie because I feel like it's just been spoiled from the trailers, and you said that's not the case.
Yeah, I was completely shocked. I thought the story was going to go in a completely different direction than the trailers led on.
Interesting.
I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt, because J-Law and Chris Pratt kill it. So, that alone, if they're entertaining enough...
Does she, though?
Yeah,
Does she, though?
She does.
Does she, though?
She does. We're not talking about X-Men Apocalypse here.
I can't remember the last good J-Law movie I've seen.
Maybe any of the Hunger Game movies?
I didn't see the last two.
Or a movie that was entertaining?
No, best J-Law performance.
Ooh,
because even in the Hunger Games, she's just kind of playing the same character throughout it. She was great in the first Hunger Games.
Wait, Lawrence Fishburne is in Passengers?
Yeah, he's in one of the trailers, and that was I was like, why are you showing more characters? I thought the whole idea was that it's just these two guys.
In it too. Interesting. I'd have to research what her last great movie was besides Silver Linings Playbook or something like that. That's
that was probably it.
I just think that I think she's a very passionate actress. Sometimes she gets put in roles that maybe isn't the most fitting for her. But I think that she's really passionate in the work that she does, and that's just my kind of take on it.
I liked her in American Hustle, even though that movie was awful.
Well, she was the only good part of that movie, and then the 2 minutes of Robert De Niro that you get.
That's true. I forgot Robert De Niro was in that movie. That was a big deal when he showed up.
I didn't know it was coming, so it was cool. But everybody else in that movie, I just could not stand. Christian Bale was not good. Amy Adams was okay, but she was pretty terrible too. Bradley Cooper was horrendously hard to watch.
And I just don't like Jeremy Renner.
And Jeremy Renner, how is he still a movie star sometimes is what I want to know.
It doesn't make any sense. He should not be Hawkeye.
He got lucky with the Hurt Locker, and he's just been riding the Marvel train ever since. Because that Jason Bourne movie that he was in was terrible.
Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne.
But anyway, so I might go and check it out.
You should.
Because you've given me hope for that movie, and because I did not plan to have it on the docket, I was probably just going to see Rogue One and La La Land this winter.
What up? Gonna go see that tonight. I hope I'm gonna see it tonight. We're trying to figure out plans and everything like that, but so just unbelievably excited. The buzz is incredible. People are taken to it, and I'm happy. Hopefully it gets an even wider run, because it's in a very limited amount of theaters, even though it's in a quote-unquote wide release. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. If I like it enough, I might see it a couple more times just to support it, Support whatever it is. But let's jump into the big topic of the week. Last episode we put out was episode 32, right? Mm-hmm. And we gave our pre-show for Rogue One, and it took a little bit of time before we were able to do the post-show, but here we are. So why don't we talk about the ins and the outs, the ups and the downs?
Yeah.
And
so let's start out by comparing it to, we had our 20-point scale ratings going into the movie that we guessed it would be before we saw it. Okay. Does yours compare with what your original guess was? Your original guess was at 8 to 8.
That it would be. I think my original guess was that the Rotten Tomatoes score would be accurate,
which is like 85%.
I think it's sitting at. Let's double check.
It's still holding up. I think mine was an 8.5 to 9 out of 10 was my predictions for it, and I would probably put it closer with an 8.
Right now, it's sitting 10. At 85.
Okay.
On the top box.
I'd probably agree with that. In my personal opinion, I'd probably give it the 8 out of a 10, maybe, to maybe 8.5. I don't know. I'm going to go see it again in like an hour. Yeah. So I kind of want to justify that a little more, but I'm totally down to talk about it now. What about you?
Yeah, Austin, hit me.
Out of 10.
So, without going into major detail yet, I would start off with an 8.5 to a 9 from what I saw on my first go around. But I definitely am on the same board with John. I'd like to see it again just to, see the missed parts, because you always miss parts.
I go a little bit lower. At first, when we came out of the theater, I was thinking it was a good 8, maybe a high 8. After stewing on it a little bit, I'd probably round around the 7.5s.
Any reason why?
Well, I think I need to see it again. Obviously, I'm going to echo both of your thoughts, but I think I need to see it again because I was distracted the first time by the things that were disappointing me.
Really?
And we'll get into those things in a minute.
That tends to happen your first go-throughs. It's like I saw X-Men Apocalypse with you for the first time, and it was super disappointing. It's still a disappointing movie, but the second time that I watched it,
able to focus on the
I really just focused on the things that I liked, that I knew were coming, like all the Fassbender stuff. And,
sure.
So, I don't know. I would agree with you on that, though. There were parts of Rogue One that when I saw it the first time that I was kind of like, this is delving a little into some weird, almost cartoony type stuff, where it seemed like it was drawing close to like the Clone Wars show or the Rebel show or something like that. But overall, I enjoyed the amount of the Star Wars lore that it expands upon, which I think is really cool.
The lore building, like the lore and the world building are the two things that I think Rogue One nailed. Like introducing us to a group of rebels that we didn't really know about, and
expanding on rebels that you don't really know about anyway. Because of the original trilogy, they're either dead or they have really small parts. Same with some of the Imperial figures. And
a good point that one of the reviewers brought up is that it brings about some interesting questions about planets that we never knew about. So like all these different, like it's just stepping away from the movie. It's just a cool thought thinking that the Empire has a planet of their own, just for their archives, and that's cool. Like that's a really cool idea, and
it's a beautiful beach.
Yeah,
because those poor data workers are probably sitting in their cubicles, like, oh, this is the most boring job. Oh, look at that bird.
Let's go for beach day.
Yeah.
So, so let's dive into spoiler territory. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, shut this off, go away, come or skip forward.
Probably like 20 minutes.
Yeah, 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And, go see Rogue One and then come back. Form your own opinion. Go enjoy your art, as we always say, or whatever.
Okay.
So, John, spoilers. What I was saying about the negative things that were detracting from my experience, it started with the text on the screen. I'm not a fan of how they did that in Guardians. I'm not a fan of how they did that in this, which felt very un-Star Wars-y, where they would introduce each planet with the text. It's like, I hate that device in movies.
Yeah,
because
they did that in Civil War so much. It's like,
and it's huge. It's this huge gradient text that just flies across the screen. It's like, if you can't be intelligent enough to write where you are into the dialogue or into listen, then you don't need to explain that planet then. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, like go back and watch Empire Strikes Back and see how many times that you read or hear them say Hoth.
Yeah. Never.
It's like, I think I figured out what it's called.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and speak on the text issue. I know a big issue for a lot of people, and me personally, is the missing scrolling introduction. It's just the epic Star Wars. It's just the epic Star Wars introduction that just gets you like so excited to see what you're about to see, and it just kind of sums up, what's been happening in the universe, where they're at, what's kind of going on, and I think that they could have done a better job of introducing some of the characters and some of the ideas that's going to be played out And so that was one of my issues with the movie. So.
Yeah. And if you think about it, like, I know they wanted to save that for the saga films and make it, like, unique and stuff like that, but the parts of Star Wars, the reason why they're able to start with such action-packed scenes is because they already tell you what the exposition of the story that you're about to watch in 3 paragraphs. Whereas Rogue One, I felt, suffered a lot from that because they did not have an opening crawl. So it's, like, it's hard to get that going. That's why I felt like the movie kind of started out a little slow, because I had to kind of get roped in.
Yeah, I didn't miss the crawl because I felt like the opening scene was really good. I just felt like after Rogue One appears on the screen, then it gets slow for about 35 to 40 minutes.
Interesting.
The introduction scene with young Jin and Galen is actually really great, and I love Krennic, and that whole, Michael brought it up, it said it had a very Inglourious Bastard sort of feel, which I totally vibe with, and I thought, like, when she's hiding out in the bunker, like, and then it, like, flash forwards a little bit, I thought that was a great introduction to that character and kind of understanding where she fits in this universe, because you're supposed to, she's the main character ostensibly. There really is no main character. Jin is the closest there is to it. Mm-hmm. But I thought I don't understand what the purpose of the crawl would. I don't know what they would have said.
That's a good point.
That's the thing, is that, like, someone on Reddit made an astute comment where it was like,
you could have talked about the relationship between Galen and Krennic a little bit and kind of established a little more of a backstory to them, because from what I've heard, there's a novel called Catalyst, a Rogue One story, and if you read that book before this movie, Jin's mom, Jin's father, and Krennic are, like, in all of that book, and you get a huge backstory exposition to their relationship together that makes it more tense, because they're, like, friends, but they're falling out, and, you know, they've been hunting Galen because they want him to build the laser.
Yeah. I just don't know. I don't. They're not going to do it for the rest of them, so I think we better just get used to it now.
That's fine.
Because I don't, especially Han Solo. Like, what are they going to say in an opening crawl to a Han Solo movie that's going to make it any more?
Han shot first,
and that's the end of the crawl. It just keeps rolling.
That'd be cool.
That would actually be pretty funny if they could do it tongue in cheek like that and get away with it.
So I want to speak for just a second on what you guys were saying about the introduction, the intro scene. I enjoyed it. I thought that the initial introduction scene was great, but I felt like the first 15 minutes were really rushed. I wanted some more backstory on just the characters themselves, because we never, you don't get that in Episode 3, and there's just this weird transition between Episode 3, Rogue One, and then 4. It's kind of, well, obviously not 4. We'll get to that later. It's a perfect transition, but I would have liked to have seen kind of a backstory a little bit more on the characters, because it's like, boom, they're in exile. Boom, he's like now the lead engineer for the Death Star. Boom, like it's just like very fast, I think, in the first 15 minutes. So I would have liked to have seen just a little bit more backstory to those characters. I feel like I didn't get to know him as the lead engineer quite enough.
The question is, do you think that Gareth Edwards' extended cut, like the cut that didn't make the theatrical, has more exposition for the rest of Rogue One, like the rest of the characters?
My theory is that the third act of the movie is the same as the first cut that he filmed. The reshoots, I think, take place in between the opening scene and leading up to the Scarif battle.
Interesting.
Yep.
Why would you? Why?
It just felt like they were just like conveniently jumping to the next place. It's like, oh, we just happen to have to go to this rain planet with a platform because Diego Luna's character just happens to have to assassinate Galen Erso. So it kind of felt really convenient with like plot devices.
I can see that.
It's like they didn't really set up stuff; they just kind of happened to be places.
I feel like the idea for the rain planet with the assassination was planned from the get-go, though, because that's the emotional.
I'm just saying, like I'm just saying.
Oh, okay, just the transitions.
Yeah. No, I definitely think that part has been in the whole thing.
Well, the big story when it came out was that they were doing reshoots to make it a little bit more lighthearted.
Yeah, because it's definitely dark. It's definitely a dark episode, if you ask, or a dark movie, if you ask.
I don't even know if it was lighted at all. Like
So you think that was just like a rumor spread around?
No, I think they tried, but I don't think they did a good job.
What did they try to do though? There's not like any humor.
They might have added more K2SO
That's
stuff,
probably
which
true.
is fine
More
because all that stuff worked.
Shout out to Alan Tudyk.
Maybe some Saw Gerrera stuff they tried to make a little more lighthearted because he was kind of goofy.
I did not like that character very much.
People that liked him in Clone Wars are going nuts about him because they like him. I'm going to be honest. I think he was the weakest character as well.
I agree. I mean, but don't you think that people liking him from Clone Wars is probably just like a fandom kind of thing? Where
it's
they're like,
totally fan service that he's in the film.
Yeah. It's the same thing. To me, and I hate to offend you, I think it's the same thing with Bail Organa. I don't understand. That's not an important. I mean, it's an important.
I thought it was important. To
exactly because you like the prequels, and I don't. I think the prequels.
No, I think it's
trash.
important to the story to have Bail Organa because the Organa family and Alderaan play such a pivotal part of Star Wars, and like.
But how?
Because in like expanded stuff, they finance the rebellion. He does, like almost single handedly, because like the rebellion can't get a lot of support. No one's going to go up against the Empire, and you kind of have to establish how important he was to the rebellion before Alderaan gets destroyed in Star Wars to kind of add a little more emotional weight to that if it didn't already, because it's genocide against a planet.
Yeah.
I know you're not a prequels guy though, so that you probably saw him and you're just probably like, no. But
I didn't realize who it was until after the movie and you guys brought it up.
There's two people in the prequels that you could bring and it works, and it's Bail Organa and Obi-Wan. So at least they're playing it safe with the people that they're bringing back. And the Emperor, but he was already in Return of the Jedi. So.
And,
Ian McDermott's going to be in one of these
right?
freaking things.
Well, yeah, but that was a deleted scene from Revenge of the Sith. So,
but that's also really interesting. The story about that specific actress as well. She was played by a different person in 4 and 5, I believe.
She's not in 4 and 5. She's only Mon Mothma's in Return of the Jedi, and then that actress is obviously really old now.
Yeah, and then it was played by a different woman who looks almost identical to the original.
It's like a twin. The lady that they got in this movie is freaky.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
But it was awesome, and I think that was another really good small thing that they did really well.
Yeah. I liked having her around.
Yeah.
She's great.
I just
kept thinking of the Family Guy joke. Oh, look, the only other woman in the galaxy. I don't like her already.
I just think that, so Bail Organa, whatever, I didn't really think it was that pivotal to have it, and I think it's very much the Saw Gerrera thing where it's like, oh, we know who that is, so we like him a little bit more. I mean, he didn't say anything to...
Talk to Obi-Wan.
Yeah, exactly. That's the cool part, is that you like, oh, okay, Obi-Wan.
It kind of shows you how cool the relationship is between him and the surviving Jedi, and it's, I don't know, I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
Because I always found the lack of Alderaan expansion in the films really disappointing because it's so important in Star Wars, besides the fact that it's a giant piece of cardboard that a guy held up in Star Wars. But I don't know, I liked it.
Yeah.
Let's go on to some other Easter eggs while we're on it.
Yeah,
the two guys from the cantina are in Jeddah.
This is what I want to talk about is the fan service now. So call back some fan service. This is my biggest problem with the movie is the overabundance of fan service and callbacks.
But it's not like in terms of plot like The Force Awakens was, which is so like because people were mad at The Force Awakens for copying A New Hope, whereas Rogue One is just like, you remember these guys from A New Hope? There they are, like geek out for a little bit. But they weren't like plot devices.
Yeah, but I don't think that's a valid argument because Episode 7 was kind of like it took the template of A New Hope and kind of screwed with it a little bit. This is just like, hey, remember these two guys? Hey, look, there's C-3PO and R2, even though we've already seen them last year. Hey, look, here's two characters
they had to put
R2-D2
and C-3PO in it because they've been in every Star Wars movie. Well, now, whether that continues on or not, I don't know. But you have to understand from a filmmaker's perspective, Gareth Edwards is obsessed with George Lucas's original Star Wars, like obsessed. So this was all like he wanted these things in his movie because he loves them. So that's why there's so much things from Star Wars in it, Like, he loves all those characters like Tarkin and having Leia in it and having R2 and 3PO and having the guys from the cantina and talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi hiding out on the desert.
Let's go ahead and talk about the Tarkin issue.
Yeah, this is my biggest problem with the movie.
Huge issue, and I think it's probably on everybody's list, number 1, maybe number 2, but it's definitely up there for a lot of people. I've read a couple things about it and how they could have done it a little bit more tastefully. One of the methods was bringing him in through a hologram, which he didn't.
I like that.
He did not have to be there
in
person in any of the scenes that he was in, and he got way too much screen time.
Agreed.
Way too much screen time.
He got more screen time in this than he did in Star Wars.
He didn't play any. He didn't play any important part. The thing is that
he just commandeered the Death Star from Krennic. That's the only thing that he did.
And it's the same thing with 3PO and R2 and. With Leia also is that we already know that these characters are there. So why do we need this drawn out? Krennic is already a cool enough villain, and you're only degrading his coolness by bringing the cooler villain, which Tarkin's cooler than Krennic, obviously, but the Tarkin in Rogue One is not really Tarkin. It's video game Tarkin. It's faux Tarkin.
Yeah,
it's Naughty Dog Tarkin.
Yeah, it's Naughty, and the visuals look great. I mean, They do look great, but they don't look good when it's on screen for that long, that close, and talking with real human beings.
I don't think he should have turned around. I think he should have just been
exactly
facing the window.
Maybe like a very brief, just to see like a side profile, so you knew like exactly who it was. There was no doubt. But I think I really like the hologram method. I think that would have been really tasteful. I mean, the actor's gone, so like I think it would have been he died in like the mid 90s, I believe 95 or 94. But
didn't he die before Empire came out? Right?
Well, like the character was already gone, but I'm pretty sure the actor died before they even finished the original trilogy.
Yeah. So
that would have been like the 80s, right? Holy cow!
But speaking on his role, I think that his role was actually a little bit more important than maybe you guys lead on to be. But I think it's because he kind of motivates Krennic to do what he's doing. Otherwise, what would be Krennic's motivation? You know what I mean? I don't.
He's just like a traditional bad guy. That's at least the vibe I got. Is that Krennic just wants to be bad for the sake of being a leader,
right?
So
it kind of like the purpose of Tarkin and the purpose of Vader in this movie is to frustrate our main antagonist and to see kind of where he's coming from in trying to establish himself further in the Imperial hierarchy, and
it's like Office games,
and to gain favor with the Emperor. Because if you think about it, he's trying to make this Death Star that he's been planning for a long time, and he's been overseeing construction, and it's like his baby.
Sure.
And then he's got these two guys that the Emperor likes way more, which is Darth Vader and Tarkin. And the Emperor is totally okay with Tarkin taking his thing from him. So it just kind of adds to...
That's why I think Tarkin's role is important.
Deepening the character a little bit.
But it could have been done differently, certainly.
And then Leia.
Well, I did not like that CGI as much.
Didn't look good.
It didn't look as good, but I understand why he wanted it in there. Again, he's a fan, so he's servicing himself almost, making this movie. I did kind of like the rebel pilots from Star Wars that they put in like the space battle though. They just like,
that was great because they grabbed footage from the original Star Wars.
We're starting our attack run. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Yeah. But all right, well, last fan service thing we could talk about then is Vader.
Yep.
What'd you think?
He's the best fan service.
You have two scenes with Vader. Yeah. Right.
You have two scenes with Vader. Well, 2.5. There's the scene where he's in the chamber and it's draining.
And then he comes out and talks to...
I would count that whole thing.
Krennic, right? Okay. Does he talk to Krennic? Or,
he talks to Krennic.
Yeah.
So the scene with him and Krennic was totally unnecessary.
Them talking on Mustafar in his castle.
Totally unnecessary. You said you liked the castle.
Oh, that was a good idea. Yeah. It's in the comics, so...
Yeah. Didn't really do much for me. It looked a little bit cartoony.
I like how they're bathing him in Bacta.
Yeah.
Because that kind of shows how they went from him being a burnt carcass to kind of healing him over time until you get to the end of Return of the Jedi, and you see that even though like his face is all messed up, it's not like his skin's falling off or anything. So I thought the bathing him in the Bacta tank was a really unique idea. I liked that scene because that was the scene that James Earl Jones got to talk the most.
Yeah. It was cool to hear James Earl Jones.
Now the quip with the "Don't choke on your aspirations" was so cheesy, but I don't know.
That sounded like something from Star Wars, so I didn't have a problem.
It was cool to see James Earl Jones be Darth Vader again because we haven't seen that since Revenge of the Sith, and that wasn't a good showing of.
No,
Vader.
not at all. No.
Yeah. So I was fine with that scene, and then his follow-up scene is when he shows up at the end of the movie,
which is in my opinion, where that should have been the only thing we ever saw of Vader, because as much as I love James Earl Jones. That scene with him and Krennic didn't really add anything to the suspense of Vader. In fact, it would have only made that ending scene more powerful, where you see him drained in the Bacta tank or whatever. You can infer that he has a conversation with Krennic.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, when they're trying to chase the blockade, that red lightsaber lights up the dark hallway and shit is on. Like, that would have been so cool.
Yeah, that's a very... I think that's a very good point. Like, just the epic scale of the red lightsaber. Because you don't see a lightsaber throughout the entire movie. And then just, boom, dark hallway, lightsaber, Darth Vader. I think that would have really just summed up the movie so powerfully. And I think back to the Leia thing. I think it was cool. I think it was neat that it's like almost a perfect segue into the next movie. Her CGI wasn't the best, like you guys said, but I was so wrapped up in the moment because you had just seen Vader, boom, boom, like all these like great things that are in the Star Wars universe are happening, in my opinion. And so I was like so wrapped up in the moment that I almost didn't even notice it. Obviously, a second go around, that would probably be one of the things that would negatively impact my second viewing. But for the first viewing, I thought that was great. So that's just my personal take on that.
Yeah. So what else do we have to discuss about it? Or any searing points in your head you got to bring up?
I think it is. Some people are saying that it's unnecessary, that the movie is unnecessary. It's not like a story that needed to be expanded upon. I would disagree. I think it's a good story.
I think of all the stories that they could have picked, this is one of the better ones.
It shows the desperation of the rebellion more than it ever has before, and it kind of shows you how dirty they have to play to succeed. Because like in Star Wars, it's like you just feel bad for them the whole time because they're just getting it from the Empire. Whereas in this one, you see like Diego Luna's character like murders people so that they don't like tell on him and stuff like that. It's cool to see a different, darker perspective on the Galactic Civil War, which I thought was cool. But I enjoy the movie. I'm looking forward to seeing it again to kind of establish more opinions. But people are saying it's like Empire Strikes Back good.
No way.
I wouldn't.
You are out of your mind if you think this movie is anywhere near better than any of the original trilogy or even Episode 7.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. If you guys think, obviously 4, 5, 6, but the question is 7 or Rogue One better?
I think 7 is better than A New Hope, but I think so. My order of the Star Wars movies would be Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, Force Awakens, A New Hope, Rogue One. Very long trail of dusty tumbleweeds, and then Episode 3, I guess, and then Episode 1, and then 2.
I don't know. I'd probably just keep my order, and it's Empire, the original Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, Force Awakens, and then this movie. And then the prequels, they fall into place somewhere.
So
I had a conversation with my uncle who's like an OG Star Wars fan, right? Like he's been to the premiere of every single Star Wars, except for I think the first one because I think he was just a younger kid then.
In the womb.
Yeah.
He's just a boy.
But like I said, he's been to every single premiere, I think, like I said, the first one. And his take on it from a plot perspective is that the first 30 minutes, and I have to agree with him on it a little bit, that the first 30 minutes was not Star Wars whatsoever. The movie, none of it was the original Star Wars feel. And then somewhere in that 30 minutes, without really even noticing it, you're all of a sudden like in the Star Wars universe. Like you were there. It's a genuine,
it's once they get to the Rebel
movies.
base is when it becomes a Star Wars movie.
And I really agree with him. And I think that the moment that I really realized it is when Jen and K2 and what's the other
Cashin.
Cashin are in the plan. What the hell's the name of that place?
The archive.
The archive, yeah.
Okay.
when they're there, and then all of a sudden you kind of see that decision that she has to make to jump. That was the moment that I realized that I was watching a genuine Star Wars film. Like I was like, okay, this is it. I feel it. The decision making, like the hard decision that she has to make. Is it worth it? You know, should I do this? Is it a character flaw? Or not a character flaw. It's just an internal decision that she has to make for the betterment of the rebellion, and she does it. And that was when I was like, okay, this is definitely a Star Wars film. I see this now, like in the whole space scene where the Bruiser, whatever that ship you want to call it, pushes the
that was awesome.
The Star Destroyer, or
so cool. Great moment.
That was just epic, and
that was very Return of the Jedi to me. That felt very Return of the Jedi.
The battle scene was very Return of the Jedi.
And cool. I thought that all of that was just very original Star Wars feeling.
That's what I'm saying. The last act is very strong in terms of comparisons to the original trilogy feel of having the rebels fight the Empire again. It's the fan service that some people have problems with. It's the choice and plot at the beginning of the movie and stuff like that. But I think everyone can agree that the ending is pretty strong.
It is really strong.
So,
and I want to reiterate, I don't have a problem with fan service.
Yeah.
But I do have a problem when it's done poorly, and I do feel like it was done kind of poorly in this. And there were a few cheap outs. Like, the two guys from the bar, what are their names? Don't they?
Dr. Evazan and Ponda Baba.
Ponda Baba, yeah.
Or Walrus Man if you had the toy in the 70s.
Those were great pulls because they're subtle and they pass by and it's a second. But
you watch yourself.
R2 and C-3PO could have just been in the background somewhere, and that would have been cool. They don't need to have a speaking role.
Anthony Daniels needs to get paid.
That's true. Anthony Daniels doesn't.
I don't know. I love C-3PO.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like
C-3PO is just my man.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you guys before I get into any great detail about my opinions. The Donnie Yen character of Chirrut.
Chirrut Imwe?
I've read articles that he is the best character in the film. And personally, I really enjoy the character, but I don't want to get into it too much before hearing your guys' opinions about it.
He is my second favorite Rogue One character, behind K2SO.
Okay, K2SO was great. I wish K2SO had more. I
don't know where Zach stands on this, but I was thinking about it after I saw the movie, and Donnie Yen's character and his belief in the Force, even though he's not a Jedi, I think is really compelling. I don't know. I thought it was really cool that there's characters in the Star Wars universe that believe in the Force as, you know, what Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda have talked about is like it lives in all living things and stuff like that, and it controls people's destinies. I think it's cool that they had that, and like the whole Jedha planet being like the foundation of Jedi I thought was fine. But I really liked his character. I think of all the, and then we are still full spoilers, of all the characters that die, which are all of them, I think his behind K2SO's was probably the most emotional.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Zach? What do you think?
He was fine. He didn't do anything.
I think him and his buddy played off of each other pretty well.
Yeah, none of the characters really did anything emotional for me besides Jin and K2SO, because Cassian's kind of a dick the whole time. Cassian, whatever. He doesn't really have anything compelling emotionally that I got behind, other than that he cares about Jin in the end to come back and help her.
Remind me if I'm wrong, but is he not the character? I agree with you 100%, except for one scene that kind of I think was his like breakthrough moment, was when he was like about to snipe.
And he couldn't do it. You know, I thought that was a pretty cool scene, and that was his only good character development, in my opinion. Yeah. So I mean, sure, it was cool. I mean, they all did things that were cool. Oh, and the pilot was great. I like the pilot just because he's like the innocent sort of like war boy. He's like Matt Damon from Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
So it was a good mix of characters. Obviously, we don't know hardly anything about these characters, so it's hard to get an emotional draw from them. But definitely,
that's what makes it a war movie.
Yeah. So
you jump in,
but that's not. So it's not what this movie's about. So
like.
that's basically it. All right, I think we got to get off this. We've been going for 32 minutes on it. So before we close off the Rogue One discussion from Fortune.com, Rogue One officially makes Disney the first studio to earn $7 billion in a year. Rogue One, the latest installment of the space opera franchise, saw a weekend box office debut of $290 million that pushed Disney to a record $7 billion gross for the year, making it the first studio ever to do so. The $7 billion consists of $2.7 billion in profits from the U.S. and nearly $4.3 billion internationally. Its all-time high profits were primarily driven by Star Wars: The Force Awakens, which debuted in December 2015, but earned more than one-third of its $2 billion global profits in 2016.
So wait, let's go through Disney's movies this year. So you have the January through like March of The Force Awakens. You have Zootopia. You have The Jungle Book, you have Captain America Civil War,
Finding
you
Dory.
have Doctor Strange, you have Finding Dory, you have Star Wars Rogue One. Any other big ones? That's 7 blockbuster movies already.
Well, I mean, even though it's not this year, Frozen, I'm sure, has brought in enormous amount of profits.
I think
just for 2016.
They're just talking about 2016.
Just because it's crazy that they were able to make $7 billion in a year.
And you can even get into merchandising, too, from all those movies. Insane.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, Frozen still to this day is like such a hot topic item for children. Like, that, I can't imagine how much money that alone made.
That's what I'm saying, man.
It's insane.
Olaf, BB-8, and Baby Groot merchandise.
They really did it.
It's nuts.
They did it. They were smart implementing those like simple-minded kind of like fun-loving characters in their in their movies.
And what's interesting is that last year Universal set the box office record, and they hit
Jurassic World
6.89 billion. Well, Jurassic World, Minions, and Furious 7 were the 3 highest.
I forgot that they do the Furious movies.
I did too.
Yep, those movies make so much money.
Boy, Fast 8 looks really good, huh?
The Fate of the Furious.
Or Fate of the Furious.
What a terrible title. I'll still go see it. We'll see.
I think they're wrapping it up, though.
Why didn't they end it with 7?
They're making another trilogy.
I think it's disgraceful to continue the series
I agree.
on after Paul Walker died when you have such a beautiful ending as you did in the last one. Even though I'm not a Fast fan.
The way they pulled it off
I've watched the scene, and it still makes me emotional just because I know about the actor and his relationship with Vin Diesel.
I'm not a not Fast fan. I'm just like in the middle.
I mean, they're cool. They're fun to watch.
But they're the definition of popcorn flicks. You know, like you put them on.
But they're better than Transformers.
Oh, Transformers
they're more
sucks,
entertaining
man.
because you have more compelling actors, whereas Michael Bay is just bad.
Let's
just move on before we get on that rant.
So we're gonna do some trailer. What do you call it?
Powerhouse.
Blade Runner 2049. What'd you think?
First of all, they said that it's an announcement, but it is totally...
It's a trailer. It's a minute and 45 seconds long.
Like a trailer. It's got a score. It's over a minute. It's not an announcement, but let's just run through it really fast then. You've seen Blade Runner, right?
Yes.
Have you?
I have not.
Okay. Quick backstory. Harrison Ford, 1980, something or other. He's playing a guy called Deckard who hunts down androids and kills them when they go bad because of artificial intelligence. This movie is taking place 30 years after the original Blade Runner. I think that's why it's called 49. Did Blade Runner come out in 89? Because then that would be...
I think that would make sense.
No, wait. It's Blade Runner 2049. I think the first one, takes place in 2019, and that's why it's called 49.
Okay.
Anyway. So this movie, it looks like Ryan Gosling is the lead, co-starring with Harrison Ford. Ryan Gosling is the new Blade Runner. Harrison Ford looks like he's the old retired Blade Runner. You can get into fan theories about whether or not Deckard's a replicant, but that's been analyzed for decades. So I don't know. Are we getting a really dark buddy cop movie here, or?
I don't think so. I think I got a Looper vibe.
Okay.
Where it's like maybe they have some tension between the two of them.
The guy who directed this directed Arrival, correct? That movie that came out most recently.
Maybe.
I heard that was amazing.
Yeah,
so he's
still on my list to see.
He's got some good bona fides in terms of directing, so a lot of people are really excited about that because Ridley Scott was able to give away his franchise. So hopefully the sequel's cool.
It looks gorgeous.
I know.
Cinematography looks
That's
unreal.
The thing, is people are always talking about Blade Runner being one of the best movies ever. The story of Blade Runner isn't as good as the visuals of Blade Runner. That's why it stands up so well, is because Ridley Scott shot a beautiful movie. That's what this looks like to me, too. Like, the story is cool, but this is more of like a Mad Max type thing where it's all about visuals and it's all about how the movie's shot and the action. And
I bet they take some serious cues from Mad Max.
And Jared Leto's going to be in this movie. Totally going to be the villain. There's no way he's not. Hopefully he's better than the Joker, but we'll get into that.
He will definitely be better than the Joker because he's not being...
I can't wait to show you my toys.
So staying on the Ridley Scott train, the trailer for Alien Covenant. It's a red band trailer. Don't watch it. You got your kids in the room. Hide your kids, hide your wife.
This movie looks terrifying.
Looks ridiculous.
Like,
holy
so scary.
Cow, Batman. Just that opening scene made me so tense.
The aliens like coming out of his back. Oh, God.
So what did you think of Prometheus? You saw Prometheus, right?
I don't like Prometheus.
I loved Prometheus.
Really?
Just because
I like Fassbender.
Yeah, Fassbender's amazing. I thought Naomi
Give me the
Watson
fast.
So
Give me
great.
the fast.
Visually, Prometheus I think is still one of the most stunning movies I think I've ever seen. And in
That's
terms
what Ridley Scott is good at, man.
Yeah,
he's a great cinematographer.
So I'm interested to see how they treat David's character in this, and if it's.
I'm very excited.
Yeah,
Danny McBride in an Alien movie. I can't wait to see how he gets killed by an alien.
Game over, man. Game over.
You think he'll be like Hudson?
Definitely.
That'd be awesome.
He's wearing a cowboy hat.
This is a day one movie for me.
Yeah, totally.
See the premiere.
I can't wait.
We might be in Europe though when it comes out. So
that'd be exciting.
It's not going to be in English depending on where we are. So
could be.
Still be cool though. But it looks fantastic.
It looks
so
amazing and
can't wait.
Yeah. Scary as hell though.
Comes out May 19th, 2017.
Yeah, we'll be gone.
From The Verge, Super Mario Run was downloaded 2.85 billion times in its first day. Or a million times. Billion. That's impossible. Super Mario Run was downloaded 2.85 million times in its first day.
Hold on, wait a second. Breaking news, Carrie Fisher just died.
Are you serious?
Someone just texted me about it. Like just now. Look it up. Yep. Carrie Fisher, who played Princess Leia in Star Wars, has died at age 60.
Oh my gosh.
This is from People.com. Family spokesman Simon Halls released a statement to People on behalf of Fisher's daughter, Billie Lourd. Quote, "It is with a deep sadness that Billie Lourd confirms that her beloved mother, Carrie Fisher, passed away at 8:55 this morning," reads the statement. Quote, "She was loved by the world and she will be missed profoundly," says Lourd. Quote, "Our entire family thanks you for your thoughts and prayers." Fisher was flying to London, from London to Los Angeles on Friday, December 23rd, when she went into cardiac arrest. Paramedics removed her from the flight and rushed her to a nearby hospital where she was treated for a heart attack. She later died in the hospital. There's not much other...
It just happened. They just dropped it.
5 hours ago, it says. It looks like people had the scoop. It was earlier this morning. I can't believe it took me this long to hear about it. Who texted you about it?
John Letarte.
Letarte did? That's really sad. That's very, very sad. Obviously, iconic actress, iconic film star. I mean...
Took the damsel in distress character and turned it into a femme fatale character. Big role model for female characters in movies and pop culture. Funny actress.
Funny person in general.
Funny person.
Her on the red carpet on Star Wars Episode 7 was just one of the most hilarious things ever.
That's really sad.
That is depressing.
She's 60 too. That is terrible.
God, 2016 kind of sucked, man.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
George Michael, we didn't talk about that. George Michael passed away. That's very sad. Well, it almost seems
silly
to talk about it, but
yeah,
it's man. Finally, when Star Wars movies start coming out, that's really sad. Well, thoughts and best wishes go out to the families, obviously, but damn. Well, take a few seconds to kind of chill out.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I'll just keep this in.
This is terrible.
It's too bad we're not more famous, or else that would have been actually kind of cool.
We might get famous from this, but that's not what this is about.
No, not at all. Not by famous that we'll gain from this. I meant that more people would hear that.
I mean, I've been watching her on a TV screen since I was 3.
You met her, right?
I've met her before. I haven't talked to you about that, have I?
I don't think so.
I've met her twice, actually. Same convention. Hilarious person. I got the picture of me and Cal with her in the back, and I got an autograph from her as well. Say what you want about a majority of the actors in Star Wars, about, they did Star Wars, and that might be the only thing that they really did, and they kind of just rode that. It genuinely seemed like she enjoyed it for the most part. And
but when it's the only thing you did and it's Star Wars, that's a huge deal. I think that argument doesn't hold any water.
She, I don't know. She always had something funny to say, like you said, and I mean, Princess Leia, that's an iconic character.
Totally iconic.
Itself, that's terrible.
Do we know if Carrie Fisher was the one that spoke the lines at the end of Rogue One? With Leia's one line?
What was her last line?
Hope?
No. Oh.
That wasn't spoken by Carrie Fisher?
No. She does not sound like that anymore. Did not sound like that anymore.
Did they use Carrie Fisher's voice, though?
It's possible. It's possible that they took Hope from Help Me Obi-Wan Kenobi, You're My Only Hope, and cut it like they did with Alec Guinness in The Force Awakens for Obi-Wan.
I'd be interested to see what they do about that.
Her last lines in The Force Awakens, so her last lines on a screen would be, "May the Force be with you."
Deep.
God, that sucks. I mean, that's beautiful, but that sucks. It's going to be...
I almost want to talk about what happens to Leia in 8, but it seems silly to talk about that now when we're talking about a human being. It's kind of selfish to just talk about what's going to happen to her character.
Well, we were just talking about Fast 8 and continuing a franchise after Paul Walker passed away, which is obviously still sad, but...
I already had my speculations that she wasn't going to make it out. So.
It's crazy as shit.
I think Luke's...
Do we know how far into shooting Episode 8 they are?
They're done.
They're already done?
They're wrapped, yeah. Unless they go back for reshoots, and it sounds like they might have to now.
They probably will.
Like, think about it, because there's a rumor floating around. It's not confirmed, so it's not really spoilery if it's not confirmed, but have you heard about this at all?
I'm not sure.
Do you want to hear about it?
Sure.
The rumor is that they're going to have a funeral for Han Solo.
At the beginning?
Towards the beginning, and that someone's going to, possibly Benicio del Toro's character or something, is going to use that as an assassination attempt on Leia's life. And then she's going to be in critical condition for most of the movie. So whether or not she lived through that, it sounds like they might have to go back and reshoot it so that she dies. if they want to do that. But I don't really want to talk about that now because that's just disrespectful
and depressing.
Yep.
Jeez. Also, speaking of Looper, Rian Johnson directing episode 8, right?
Yeah.
I'm interested to see. He will obviously have something to say about this.
They're gonna. Yeah,
I want to hear.
They'll have a press conference or something from Lucasfilm. Kathleen Kennedy will probably come out and say something.
Well,
this is sad, dude. We lost R2-D2 and Leia in the same year.
Kenny Baker, yeah, I forgot about that.
R2-D2's played by a person?
He was.
There was a guy inside the originally, before modern mechanics took off.
Before he got too old to get in there for health reasons.
Well.
Was he in there when he would fall over? That'd be kind of a...
It'd
be kind of painful.
Well, Super Mario Run made some money. Let's close that one. Looks like Red Dead Redemption might have 3 protagonists, similar to Grand Theft Auto 5. Whatever. But let's move on. Let's talk about one last thing before John talks to us about his comics that he got for Christmas. Have we talked? We haven't talked about this at all, and I'm interested to see what your opinion is. This comes from Kotaku, from Jason Schreier, one of the best gaming journalisms there are. And the story reads as such. Warner Bros. Montreal has canceled their long-rumored Suicide Squad video game, sources tell Kotaku. The studio will now focus mainly on their other big project, a Batman game starring Damian Wayne. Executives at Warner Bros. Decided to axe the Suicide Squad game earlier this month following a period of long turbulence at WB Montreal, according to 3 people familiar with the studio. The game, which would star DC Comics as a band of anti-heroes, had been in development for at least 2 years. Hints of its existence have been floating around for just as long. I've heard it was a co-op game and that it failed to impress Warner Bros. Management during its greenlight meetings, but not much else. Warner Bros. Montreal, founded in 2010, is best known for developing Arkham Origins, a prequel to the Arkham series that came out in 2013. The studio had not announced any new games since then, although the end of Origins teased a Suicide Squad get-together, which led to the first rumors that WB Montreal was working on a game about the gang of government-employed villains. Many had assumed WB Montreal's game would come out alongside the movie this past August, but that release came and went with no words from Warner Brothers. So I want to know what you think about this as a fan of the Arkham games, as a fan of DC in general. Do you think this has anything to do with the success of the film?
Yeah.
You think so? I think it has direct correlation to how Suicide Squad is now viewed, especially in the mainstream media.
That's just like them taking the Harley Quinn movie and shifting it to Gotham City Sirens, because if you just have a solo Harley Quinn movie, then they're going to have to bring in the Joker, and nobody is jazzed about the Joker right now.
No, not at all.
The Suicide Squad failed what it was supposed to do, and you lost a lot of character respect with that film. Maybe besides Harley Quinn, because that's still such a big pop culture and merchandising thing. I totally agree with you, though. This has everything to do with the film. And
it is kind of sad, though. I feel like if anyone was going to make it... Oh, we get the phone. I feel like if anyone was going to make a really compelling game about a really compelling Suicide Squad story, it was going to be the team at Montreal, just because I haven't played Origins all the way through, but I've heard that it's just an incredible Joker story and like character story with Batman.
You never played Arkham Origins all the way through?
No.
Really?
No.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It came out on PS3 towards the end of the life cycle, and it was like...
This is spoilers for the game if you haven't played it, but it's been out for a couple of years. Do you care?
No, I don't care.
They do Killing Joke in Arkham Origins.
Really?
You play as the Joker when they put that red hood cannon on him, and you're running around and people are shooting at you, and then Batman swoops down and you fall into the tank. It shows the Joker's origins in the Arkhamverse, and they do Killing Joke for it.
That's cool.
It is cool.
Troy Baker.
Troy Baker does the Joker.
Yo, Troy B.
He does a good job. He's not Mark Hamill, but...
Well, when they did that Comic-Con panel and they brought him out, and someone in the crowd was like, "Could you do your Joker voice?" We haven't, because no one had heard it yet.
Yeah.
And he read the monologue from Killing Joke, and I still watch that video sometimes to this day because it gives me chills, because I think
check it out.
His rendition is just really good.
Yeah.
All right, that's all the news. You okay?
No.
You want a hug?
Yes.
All right, here. So do you want to talk some comics, or do you want to just scoot out of here?
Probably just scoot out of here.
Scoot out?
Yeah.
Well, we were going to do a Christmas at Dat Corner, but we're going to do Quickfire instead. Favorite Christmas movie, Austin?
Elf.
Are you serious?
Yep.
John?
Charlie Brown.
Charlie Brown. Okay. I love National Lampoon.
It's a good one.
Christmas Vacation is great. I also think Home Alone is really good.
Johnny's. It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life. The Christmas Carol, Muppets Christmas Carol. It's a fantastic movie.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah. Didn't get to watch many Christmas movies this year. I tapped out.
I watched Charlie Brown, A Christmas Story, and Christmas Vacation. But
Elf,
you can
man.
watch,
Talk about an overrated movie.
You can watch
No
Elf any
way.
time of year. You can watch any of these movies any time of year.
I'm not a big Christmas movie guy anyways. So
Yeah. Die Hard.
I watched Empire Strikes Back on Christmas, so.
That's right. Got that Snapchat Christmas morning.
yeah.
Was that new? Did you get new box sets or something like that, or is it just...
I just felt like watching it.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening to this high and low Radiovania episode number 33.
We'll come back to you a couple times before breaks.
Yeah, John and I are going to close this off, and he's going to get ready to go to his movie, but we're going to plan to do an After Dark because I want to do a fun show before 2016 is in the can.
We got to do a year in review.
Yeah, year in review. Best movies, best TV shows, best albums,
Yep.
best
We'll get
moments.
around to it.
We will. If you like the show, you can follow it in many ways. You can tweet us at Radiovania. You can follow us at radiovaniashow@gmail.com or email us there. Go to radiovania.com and click the red subscribe button. It really helps us out. Every view is a little bit of money that we can help out to grow the show, get more microphones, more equipment, yada, yada, yada. You know the drill. My name is Zach, at Zachratello, at Dad John Parker to my left, and Austin James, Twitter handle redacted.
Yeah, don't worry about Twitter. I'm not active.
To my right. Thank you guys for listening, and thank you guys for being on the show.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
All right. See you guys.